I was having a big problem with my Thor. I just didn't have enough space for the 40 megabytes of NES games, but I wanted to be able to play all of them at the drop of a hat. So I worked really hard. And finally, after days and nights of hard work, I finally figured it out. I found an awesome program called RomM, or ROM, I'm not sure which way it's pronounced, but once I figured it out, I wanted to show it to all of my friends over here and what you can do with it. How to download ROMs through your devices from your server. And yeah, except for you, Tiffany. I know what you did. You're watching this while eating dinner instead of watching the show that we're trying to get you to catch up on so we can talk about it. I'm just disappointed in you, Tiffany. Everyone in the comments, shame Tiffany. Okay, I'm just kidding. Don't actually shame her. Anyways, let's get started. Okay, so let's start looking at the RomM website. We just, instead of having to deal with the GitHub, which, GitHub docs don't look the best. But yeah, let's go ahead and look around if we can see what we can expect. First, you can use Docker Compose, obviously, and there's a Docker Compose that they have as an example. I personally would, I'm personally not going to be using it. I'm going to be using, uh, so I'm personally not going to be using it. Instead, I'm going to be using TrueNAS, but obviously, as you can see right here, available is the Docker Compose file, and you can just, copy paste it, edit it in the way you need. I don't have a video on Docker, but I would just recommend if you don't understand Docker, look up a video or, just figure it out. It's not super complicated. Anyways, if we look at the other sections, we can see like how we want to play, how we want to do users, any stuff like that. Um, so if we want to, see how to use the built-in emulators and stuff like that, we can just check this web part of the website. That's correct. It uses everything below, everything N64 and below, I think, works on the website. So, and then you can also upload directly through the website instead of having to upload through like your file manager, your service file manager. There's also accounts. You can set up retro achievements. You There's separate saves between accounts, obviously, and you can sync saves between different devices, which is very useful. Um, and there's users, rules, ODIC, backups, reverse proxies, recipes, everything. So yeah, just make sure to look through that when you get a chance. So here I am. I'm about to start up setup here. Like I said, I'm using TrueNAS here, which should be pretty easy to set up. But if you need to figure out how to set it up through Docker, shoot me a comment down below, or just like look through Docker Compose files. You kind of can figure it out. But yeah, you can just, if you're using TrueNAS, you can just search it up and click install. Um, and yeah, and then we just set up a database password, and we want to, I'm just gonna set it to A. Set up a username, password, all that jazz. You can also set up certain API keys if you have an API key for like a certain uh, video game aggregation information website. And you can also set it up for retro achievements, I believe, as well. And yeah, I think I'm gonna mostly leave everything the same, but if you want to change where you save your ROMs, you can do that on that one, I believe. The one, yeah. And then, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and set it up. And I'll come back when it finishes installing, of course. Okay, so now that it's finished installing, let's go ahead and check the web UI. If you don't know how to, like if you're installing it in a different way, you can just go to the website IP and then the port that you set it on in your Docker Compose. So yeah, here's the setup. I personally recommend just adding every single um, thing because it just adds folders which basically take up no space. You never know when you're gonna want a smart whatever some random thing. You might end up with a ROM from that at some point in your life. You never know, and it's good to have a way to store them all. And then you want to set up your admin user. It'll be pretty easy. Normal stuff: username, email, password. I don't think the email does anything unless you set up the email system, which you have to do separately, and I'm not going to cover it in this video. But and it's also optional, I believe. Yeah, it's optional, so you don't even need to worry about that. Um, and then this is where you set up your API keys. I'm also not going to do any of that. Oh, sorry. But it's pretty easy to figure out what each one needs. You can just search up the name and then search API key to figure out how to get the API keys. And yeah, and then you can just log in. I think I set my username and password to 3 A's and 6 A's. So I'm not too worried about the safety of this since no one's gonna access it. And this is what it's gonna look like at first. Um, you just want to go ahead and you can upload things manually through there. Just click drag and drop. I'm gonna upload micromages because I legally own that through Steam, and if you can grab the ROMs from your copy. So I'm gonna go ahead and upload those, and we can just select once you have them. You just select um, the NES. Oh, it's the Nintendo Entertainment System on here. I guess that's good to know. Just type out the full name, and then you just want to click upload, and they should just show up right there. So let's just do that. And once they're uploaded, it'll take a second for them to show up sometimes. It'll say your library is empty until it loads them, and then you can kind of see here, now we have it, and they even downloaded the images. So yeah, and you can even play it in the browser. You can see it right here. Okay, so now let's look at the emulator settings here. You can kind of see, it's just a normal looking emulator, but if you click escape, you can kind of set up a bunch of different settings. You can set up your controls, you can set up a bunch of different things. Yeah, here's controls, and you can set up all that. And if you're playing on a browser, you can also just plug in a controller, and that'll also work. But you can create save states, you can pause the game, you can restart it, you can load save states, you can change the volume, and then you can also just straight up exit back to the main menu. And yeah. Now, if we want to set up another device, such as my AYN Thor, which I have here somewhere, the first thing we need to do is to come over to the top right and click to create an API key or API token, and then we want to just go ahead and click on that. Then we want to create a new token, and we just want to give it everything. Just give it its own name, and just go ahead and start it. And yeah, you'll get this. You can choose between a QR code and a token. I recommend just doing the pair device button, and even if your device doesn't have a camera, it comes with its own special code that you can type in as well.
Test.
So yeah, let's go ahead and move over to the AY and Thor so I can show you the setup on the other side. Okay, so now that we're going to the Argosy section, you can get it any way you would like, but I recommend, hold on, let me turn down my brightness. That might help a little bit. I recommend Unobtainium, because you can easily update things through it. And here's Argosy right here. You can just search. You can also just search things, but you can also download it directly from GitHub. You could just go on to Chrome, download it on GitHub, and all that. So yeah, let's open Argosy and set it up. So starting up, we first need to just go ahead and start. First, we need to come up with the URL. If you don't know it, you just need to check it real quick. For me, it's 10.0.0.249, and then you also want to include the port. Alright, and then I'm going to use a pairing code, which I showed you just a minute ago. Just click pair device, and click use pairing code, and then you just type it in. Oops. Okay, and that's it. You're already connected. You can give permissions, manage the storage and everything, and you need to set up the manage storage. You just click allow, and then you click continue, and you choose where you want to store your games. I store mine here, and then I click ROMs, and that's where I store it. Oh. Just go down here. And click continue. And then you can store images. I'm going to set it to use default. And you're just ready. It shows right here. You see in the bottom, you can kind of see that I can just select them, and it just downloaded it instantly. You just press A again, and I'm sorry, I'm pressing a little hard, but yeah. And this is also just a full-on front end. You can set up stuff like Steam and everything like that through this here as well. So yeah, and now I'm playing it on my AY and Thor instead. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. What video would you like to see next? And if you like this video, I would love if you would, like or subscribe, and maybe check out one of my other videos. I should have one like here. Anyways, thank you so much. Have a good day.